Happy New Year, everyone. It's 2023. Thank you again for joining our channel at Coming from a Brown Girl. This is Rina Kamar, and say hello to Kali.
Happy New Year, everyone. I hope this year is full of joy and happiness and even more success for all of you.
Exactly. How has the holidays and all of that been for you, Kali?
Holidays were great. We had a great Christmas, lots of family time, and then we did like a short weekend stint for the New Year's, and that's great. But now I'm like trying to get my entire life organized so I can get back to the grind.
Right, the grind begins. My kiddos started school again today, so that was like so difficult. My son, the fifth grader, was like 20 minutes late for school.
Oh
It's like,
no, your first day back from the new year.
yeah.
We don't start in Canada, or at least where I am, until next week. So yeah, I'm not looking forward to it. I'll be happy to get things started again, but yeah, not looking forward to the grind for sure.
Mhm. And on that note, but the flip side is also like you have to pay full tuition. My youngest goes to Montessori, and that's like full tuition, regardless of the fact that they had like 2 weeks off. So that was a little bit bittersweet, but
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you. So my son's Montessori never took time off. Like, so they did the stat holidays, but they didn't take time off like most of the other Montessoris. And now they're slowly starting to take more and more days off. The fees don't change. And then my daughter's is like off for 2 whole weeks, and we don't get any compensation for it, which I get. Like, they are deserving of their time off as well, but I don't know.
yeah,
I can see it from both ways.
right. So what's happening in 2023, Kali?
What's happening right now is I'm trying to get myself to look presentable. I'm at that point where I feel like my face and my body is just not working for me in the last like little bit. I don't know what it is. I'm telling you, like just getting my eyebrows done seems like a mission, so I need to come up with something new. I swear my nose grew when I was pregnant and then it never went back. My face is looking like it's aged, like I'm getting like that, like that gaunt. Like, now I know why people do injections and stuff, and now I know why people do fillers and stuff. Like, my face is looking thin and like sunken in. Like, I don't know, it's just not working for me. And like, as much as like I like to look my best, I also don't want to put in the time that I'm
Right.
assuming everyone else does. So I'm feeling like I need a new makeup routine. I need a new like eyebrow routine. I need a new nose apparently, but I just want to do it with like no investment. Like, I don't want to bother lotioning my skin, but I want nice skin. I don't want to be bothered doing my feet and my nails, but I want nice nails. So yeah, I don't know. How about you? Like, I don't know how, I just feel like I've hit a wall.
Yeah. But I think that's also coming from somebody like you who's very secure about the way you look. But then there's people like me who felt like our faces never worked for us from day one. So what do you see there?
Stop it. Stop it.
But
No, I don't. Oh, stop it. First of all, that's complete utter bullshit. The
no, but I'm
second thing
saying, yeah, go
no,
for
go.
it. Go.
No, I
Um,
was just saying, like, like sometimes you figure out like your makeup routine, and then it just like my makeup routine, I'm not gonna lie, like my work makeup routine is a 7-minute routine, and seriously, it's been working for me for like the last 7 years. I think like the largest like shakeup was like 7 years ago, and
right.
now all of a sudden it's just not working for me. But anyways, that is utter bullshit, by the way, about your face not working for you.
Yeah, but like grooming and all that came associated with that was something that I actually learned in adulthood because when I was younger, I was really focused at school and I was totally one of those girls that embraced like track pants and the athletic look before it was like cool and trending. So um
But
it
I
was
think so you definitely, I do agree, we're definitely not so focused on your looks. I
no,
definitely was more so when I was younger, but what I'll tell you though is it's still like a huge generational thing. Like, as much as I was focused on my looks, like I wasn't allowed to wear serious makeup probably until I hit university. Like, I would like maybe get away with lip gloss, and my mom would maybe let me wear, like, how you put like pencil eyeliner in your waterline. I
yeah.
could maybe get away with that until I was in high school. But like now, the kids, like I'm talking grade 7, 8, like in high school, wear like a full makeup routine that I like currently wear to a wedding. Like, I'm talking like concealer and then foundation and then eyeshadow and then I didn't even own half these products till like after I had my first child.
Yeah. But that's also like just like the base now, right? Like when I look at so many people on social media, even the young ones, like that's like the kind of makeup that I pay somebody to do for me if I'm going to like my brother's wedding. Like that's what they're stepping out in every day. So, I mean, good for them for learning the skill set, but I don't know if that's like the most useful. I don't know. I guess it's perspective. I was going to say maybe it's not the best use of time, but then when I first entered this whole housewives crowd, people felt that I didn't fit or I wasn't on par with their looks. So I really
So
had
I
to
can see
step up my game.
you felt like you had to step up your game
Yeah,
to
and I
like fit in.
did.
You did,
I
yeah.
did. As
It's
much
kind
as
of
I
like,
hate to
in the
say
house,
it.
in the Housewives, how they say like between season one and season two, everybody has a glow up because they realize, oh shit, like my makeup game, my fashion game's not on. But
Yeah.
I get it. Like, I trust me. Like even when I was younger, I like when went places, I like to look good. But like, don't you feel like the kids now are looking so much more mature? Like half the time I meet people at weddings, and like when we introduce ourselves to like the uncles and aunties, they assume we're all the same age. I'm like, bro, I'm like 18 years older than this young child who's standing next to me, even though she's got the same look going as me. Like
Yeah.
and I don't mean like what we're wearing. We're obviously wearing age appropriate stuff. I'm just saying like it's so made up. Like they don't even look young.
Mm,
Not young. I don't know if that's the word. They don't look like innocent's not the word either. Childlike's not the word either. There's just something overly made up, like overly womanly. When
right.
you wear that much makeup, your hair's did, your nails are did, like everything looks so womanly when like you're 16.
Yeah. Speaking of looking very simple and very clean, I recently on Netflix watched a movie called Teacher with Amala Paul, and she looks
Okay.
fantastic. She looks very like clean. My husband has always been obsessed with her. And then when she got married a few years ago, she stopped acting. And now apparently this is like she's on the come up and come back scene again.
Wow.
And yeah, and she looks fabulous, but very clean and fresh looking.
Like
Um,
natural glow, you mean?
yeah, natural glow. And there's like, she looks like she's a teacher, she's wearing like, she's not like in her superstar, like $500 sari teaching, not like she doesn't look like the Jodiga from Kaka Kaka. She looks like a teacher on a teacher's salary, but still very like clean and pretty.
Nice. What's the show about?
So it's not a show, it's actually a movie, and it's actually very deep and serious. And it's about how she's a teacher and a group of boys basically sexually assault her.
Like her
And she's married and she has to go and share this experience with her husband and the people who actually also raped her, assaulted her, threaten that they're going to release the images of the assault.
So wait, these are her students?
Yes. Or like
Her
she's
students assaulted her?
yeah, so she's a physical education teacher, so she runs like a sports team or something, and she takes a group of boys to this meet and they assaulted her. They were
Oh my
initially
God.
yeah, but that's yeah, so it's a definitely must watch. I think it's a definitely must watch. It definitely really makes you evaluate your relationships. It's interesting to see how her relationship with her husband plays out. At the end, she leaves her husband saying, I was in the most vulnerable time of my life and I like needed a um lifeline and you weren't there to provide it for me. So what is the point of having you as a husband? She didn't say it in those words necessarily, but that was like the gist of it. But that
Isn't that eye-opening? I
yes.
just I find that like I mean even the research shows, right? And I'm like not to compare because I'm sure this is a very unique and nuanced thing, but like doesn't the research show that like as a couple when you go through like tragic life moments like the death of a child or like rape or a house break-in or like a miscarriage, like they both process so differently, not to say that they don't process, but they process so differently that I can definitely see where fractures and cracks in a marriage can start and possibly even completely just break things apart.
Mhm. And then
Has
the
that ever
other
happened to you?
um, has that ever happened to me? No, but there has been like just on this like sexual assault situation and like just those things in brown communities. I've just definitely had like a lot of like thinking I've done in the last years. Um, when I was younger, when I was much younger, the only thing I ever wanted was like a big brother because I thought like, he would be like the protector of everything. And it seemed like all the girls who had big brothers just had somebody to lean on, whereas like somebody like me who just had me and my sister, we were always like fending for ourselves. So I thought
Mm,
that was really like interesting. But then like I had this incident in college where that was like my first exposure when I saw somebody or like somebody confided in me that they had been like inappropriately touched. And
mhm.
I found it interesting that the person who like was the victim of that was somebody with exclusively brothers.
And she didn't tell her brothers, or the brothers didn't do anything, or it didn't make a difference really in how she felt or processed the situation?
She felt like she didn't want to tell her brothers. I don't think she ever did.
Interesting. Well,
Yeah.
then I mean, they're right there, right? Like that speaks to family dynamics. It doesn't necessarily mean whether you have brothers or not. It speaks to how close as a family you are. I shouldn't even say close because that sounds judgmental, almost like they're not close, but there's a comfort level, right, in sharing something that um intimate or that scary or that fearful that you may not necessarily do that with everybody, right?
Yeah. I don't know, because I would have always thought that I would have been the person who would have went and told, like, if somebody touched me inappropriately, I would have told my dad, and my dad would have stood behind me and like ripped the person and killed him or murdered him at the least. Um,
Yeah, I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that about your
no,
father.
but I
But
never felt like in a space that maybe it was just the way I raised that I couldn't share that with somebody.
yeah. So please, please, please don't take this as victim blaming. But like, as you know, I watch a lot of like crime TV and crime series and stuff like that. And like, from what I've learned from like Criminal Minds and like the BAU and like profiling, like perpetrators are almost as good as the detectives who are trying to find them about profiling people and picking people or choosing a strategy or choosing them in a way that they're shameful to tell anyone. Like, when you say to me, well, if that ever happened to me, I tell my dad, and my dad would murder them. Like, there's something about you that already puts that off. Like, you are not the person who, like, if you're wronged, like, are going to walk away and like just try to diminish the situation, right? So sometimes you wonder if perpetrators pick people because they know they can get away or they can blackmail them or convince them not to say. Like, similarly, I would think, I never know, I'm that person who also has a really big mouth that I would like bait the person seen out so obviously. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. I
Mhm.
don't know if perpetrators are that good, but I've always wondered if that might be the case.
Yeah. It's kind of frightening. The situation in the teacher movie was that they actually drugged her, like, a Quaalude, or there was like a date rape drug. So at that point, like you really have no control. And it like kind of there were undertones of like, the whole Bill Cosby situation and all of that, right?
Mm, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, but
It's
fun. Yeah, go ahead.
no, no, go for it.
I was going to say, funny enough, you say that because, like, I was always identified within, like, even as a young adult, as everybody's like little sisters. So even the guys in my classes would like walk me to the car when they felt like it was unsafe and all that, right? But,
Mm,
um, yeah, maybe there is something about us that, like, about certain people or vulnerabilities. It's like the whole thing with like online perpetrators, too, right? They know which kids to target and
yeah,
to
yeah,
target.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy that in my mind, like something I learned from like the TV shows is that like criminals are as good as the detectives in picking victims in terms of their strategy. Like it is really a cat and mouse game, right?
Yeah.
Like that you see with so many of these like serial killers and those sorts of continuous kind of investigations and chases.
Yeah. Well, now that we've gone to that dark place, what positive things are you watching these days, Kali?
I wouldn't say totally fun and hip and positive. But I will tell you, one of the shows that I think you absolutely should check out is this show called Easy. So it's a series of episodes, which, by the way, like every episode has like pretty big actors and actresses. So I'm surprised it doesn't get way more
Traction.
traction and PR than what I've seen. But basically, it's like different, like short 20-minute episodes of like different sexual sort of phases of a person's life. And the very like kind of base message, it's obviously way more nuanced and way more layered and has way more complexities. But the basic like messaging is that, like, you know, when it comes to sex, we make things so much more complicated and so much more confusing than it really needs to be. So like some examples are like there was a lesbian couple that just randomly met each other, and then like one person completely tried to emulate what they thought the other person would be and change who they are. And the person's like,
Mm.
bro, like you just need to chill. I like you for who you are, and like you're making this more complicated.
Wow.
Another one is like a young new couple who decided to like they just had a baby, and like they had just discovered Tinder, and they're like, what the hell? When we were dating, things weren't like this. Like it's kind of like quick and sexy, and like kind of like there is some like I can see like enticement in it, right? And so they decide to have like a threesome, and it was very like easy with somebody they kind of knew, and then everybody just kind of went on their own ways. Whereas in the real world that ends up being so complex and like, you know, layered and judgy and all that. So I think it's a great show. I think you should check it out. I think it's a very fresh take, and I'm so impressed by like how many big actors are in there for like very short episodes.
Can I make a confession? When I
Yeah.
see anything slightly sexual as I'm watching TV, I actually fast forward it. It makes me uncomfortable to watch it, even though I have like obviously kids of my own. But I can't like watch stuff like that. It makes me very uncomfortable. It's programmed into me so deeply.
Really? Even when
Yep.
you're like alone and stuff?
Even when I'm alone, it makes me uncomfortable to watch it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, so then that's definitely not the show for you.
No.
But I think it basically purports that message that like we make things so taboo and so complex and so weird that like we're making something very basic complicated.
Yeah. I also would like to say that I am so happy that I'm not navigating like relationships and stuff like in this era.
Really? I don't
Yeah.
know. I think there's something liberating about how relaxed people are, particularly coming from the brown community. And I think we have like 100 more miles to go. Like we
Yeah.
need to catch up to other like communities,
Right.
or particularly the Caucasian community. But I'm sorry, like when we were dating, it would like it was there was just so many restrictions and so much judgment and so much like I don't know. I just feel like I get it. Like I think dating online is way more complex. I think dating in COVID, please, for the love of God, I would have never wanted to be in that situation. Like where would you even meet people? How would you even like
Yeah.
figure it out? That I get. But there is something liberating. I maybe it's because I'm older and now I've when maybe I'm not paying attention to it, I'm like, ugh, that's so stupid. Like, but when
Yeah.
we were younger, I felt like there was 100 people watching us, like a
Yes.
hundred judgments, 100 like you have to be the prim, proper, good girl. And I don't see as much of that anymore. And I also don't feel like people really care as much anymore in the brown community. So I could see it both ways. Like if please don't get me wrong, I feel like my husband and I were like meant to be together, but like sometimes I think like with us trying so hard to be a good girl, like we really lacked like just life experiences.
Yeah.
Not
That
because
I
like
would
we were going to
second.
get yeah, right? Like not because we weren't going to get married to the same people, or not because we got married for not the right reasons, but just like the living piece of it, the traveling and the, you know, like the whole Sex in the City experience and just dating and like meeting funny people and having funny stories. I think there's definitely some parts of life we've missed. But then on the vice versa, when you talk to people who are like currently dating, like some of my friends are like, "Oh God, please put me
Yeah.
out of my marriage." So
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Hey, on that note, speaking of the brown community, I just have to give a huge shout out as we close 2022 to Simone Ashley, who has become like top 30 of like the next sort of new actor, new fashion icon who's like coming into her own. Do you know Simone Ashley?
I followed her because you've like shown me her work and all that. She's the one from Bridgerton, right?
So she's from Bridgerton. I
Yeah.
actually first saw her in the British show. I think it was called Sex Education or College or something like that, or Sex in College or something like that. It's a British show, and she had a very small part, and then she became the lead in Bridgerton. And funny enough, like again, coming from a brown community where think we're so prim and proper, whatever. Like I saw the first season of Bridgerton, and it's kind of like okay, and I'm exaggerating again for a brown girl, it's kind of like soft porn. Like it's a
Yeah.
lot of explicit like sex scenes. And I was like, oh, a brown girl's gonna be the lead. Like I really want to see how this goes down. Like because they announced that she was the lead like months before the season. And
Yeah.
so I like, whoa, like I want to see how this goes down. Um, I'm going to share my feelings about her performance in Bridgerton for another time. I'm going to save it for another time. But I just think like she's got a great fashion sense, a great body, and something about her that I'm so like um excited that she's like a new face of fashion is that she looks very brown. A
Right.
lot of times brown people who make it in Hollywood or in the celebrity industry are people who don't look brown. Like
Right.
they're half white or they're mixed or they have very non-brown features, and that's sort of celebrated. So then I'm like, well, she's just being celebrated for not looking like, but she looks so typically brown. Like she's got the frizzy hair. Like what gets me, and you're gonna know what this means, but I feel like most people won't. She's got the brown fingers, the brown fingernails, like she's
Mhm.
darker toned, like it's like looking at ourselves in the mirror. It's kind of impressive. So kudos to her, shout out to her. I really hope she takes the fashion thing like 100 miles. I'm gonna tell you, I don't think she's as good of an actor, which is I like I said for another episode, I didn't particularly like her in Bridgerton, but then we were spoiled by Daphne in the first season. But as a fashion icon, 100.
Yeah, another person who I've also noticed had a lot of success this year was Mindy Kaling. I follow her on
Yes.
Instagram. She's made leaps and bounds and like put like brown girls on the map. But can I also share some disappointment I have with Mindy?
You can, but tell me, so what did she like? I watched the season 3 of Never Have I Ever. I didn't like that show from the jump, but I kind of watch it because I feel committed. But
Oh,
I
okay.
hear she has a lot of other shows, no?
She does. She has like another like sex and college type show.
Oh,
Something like that, the sex life of college girls or something like that. I actually don't also watch Never Have I Ever because I thought it was almost like too stereotypical, and I didn't get
yes.
into it. I don't know exactly what it was about this show, but I usually give a show like one episode, and if I'm not feeling it, you
Yeah.
know,
Same.
my time is valuable.
Yeah. So
But
what were you disappointed with?
so as soon as she got to the top, and I feel this a little bit with Adele too, she dropped a lot of weight.
Mm.
Right? And they all say it's for health reasons or whatever, but it's basically to me says, hey, now I have to be that stereotypical person, um, and fulfill to all of those stereotypes that is required of Hollywood. You and I, Kali, have been literally like trying to lose weight for almost our entire lives. And you know how hard it is to lose like 10 pounds, right? So this
Yeah.
is definitely extra deliberate weight, either naturally or like going under the knife or something, or like very serious dieting, right? Like lifestyle, super lifestyle change type stuff. And good for her for that. But I was really coping. Like there was something very endearing about Adele when she was chunkier, right?
Mm.
It makes her very relatable. And I think there was that factor with Mindy Kaling as well, which now is not. Now she's just another Hollywood person who's like, falling into all of those stereotypes.
So firstly, I want to say Adele, like, I mean, forget the endearing and relatable and all that. I personally think Adele looked way more gorgeous when she was bigger. It's exactly like what I was talking to you about earlier about like, like my face looking gaunt and like all of that. Like I just feel like sometimes you need chub in your face to look great. In terms of like the Mindy thing, I'm gonna be honest, you know what I read that whole thing as? And mind you, she's way skinnier than I thought.
Mm-hmm.
So like not to discredit what you're saying, like I get where you're coming from, and perhaps that could be the underlying thing, but I genuinely feel like once people know they're no longer going to have any more kids, they commit to losing weight like nobody else's business. Like, so I feel like she has that one kid with like the mystery father, BJ Novak,
She has
and
two, actually. I think she has two now.
two.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I think she's done. And then therefore people are like, okay, well now I'm gonna work towards my dream body because I'm not gonna F it up. Like I'm gonna tell you a story. So I used to work with a physician
Yeah.
who had her three kids, who back to back, and she's an obstetrician by trade. So when I say back to back, I'm not talking like, oh, she had like one kid and then another year had another kid. No, bro, like she had kids 9 months apart. Like by the time she went to her 6 week OB appointment, she was already pregnant.
Oh,
So she
damn.
had her three kids back to back. She had them late, but had three kids in like 2.5 years or something crazy like that. And then she did Bernstein, and like she was the skinniest of her entire life. So she was a big girl to begin with. Like even before she got married, before she had kids, she was a big girl. Like I'm like and like looked gorgeous, but was like always a bigger girl. And then lost weight and became like a 00 on Bernstein's. And like I think it's just like once people have kids, they're like, this is gonna be my dream body, and then I'm just gonna maintain. So I feel like there's a certain commitment to losing weight once people know I'm no longer going to F it up with kids. I don't know if you've noticed that. I don't know. I've seen it
Maybe.
multiple times.
I haven't. I've seen
Really?
people just kind of let go. I don't know. Maybe we're just like in different crowds.
I was going to say, I wonder if that's like a circle, like the circle of people you're around or the crowd or the culture. Like,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the number of people I know who look better post kids than they did pre kids. I shouldn't say better. I'm saying strictly just size wise or smaller post kids than they were pre kids. You'd be very surprised.
Hmm.
I don't know, man. I'm telling you, like, even people like our close friends, like one of our close friends, she was a GDM. I hope you figure out what we're talking about because I don't want to say names. Was a GDM, had a 9 pounder for her first baby, and then maintained that diabetic diet afterwards. And she was like, is basically a 00 now her whole adult life. But in high school, she was like a size like 8 or 10, which is totally normal size, but not a 00.
But didn't she have like thyroid stuff going on?
Oh, please. That's like I broke my nose, so I got surgery done. Come on.
Okay. I don't know. Okay. Well, we're not fat shaming or anything, but
No, we're not that. I'm just saying, like, I know more people who are smaller post kids than they were pre kids because there's a different level of commitment. I also think, like, even my husband and I, like I said, like, I'm going through this whole, like, how do I do self care? Like, I think with age, you also want to try to maintain, right? Because you can feel your body's not
Mhm.
bouncing back or as resilient as it was 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah. Now I'm like even cognizant of how quickly I move because sometimes I feel like if I move my knee or something too quickly, dude, it'll like snap out of place or something. I
We're
walk very cautiously up the stairs.
We're getting old. It's like those memes where they're like, you're old when you sneeze and you wonder if you broke a rib.
Yeah, exactly
Oh
like that.
God, oh God. Any good housewife stuff you're watching? I'm seeing like a few things here and there on Twitter.
The Lisa drama with her husband is nuts. Like he
So
brought
did you see that like club video?
where they're all like,
Like
no, remind me.
Lisa took a video of Ketty and the new girl at the club, and she's like, "Are you serious? You brought her here?
Oh no, I didn't see that.
What's going on the actual show?"
There's just like people are trying to be supportive of her and thing. Somebody who does kind of surprise me though is Alexa. Is it Alexia?
Yes.
Alexa? Yeah. She's been kind of, I don't know, very judgmental and very difficult. Can I be an asshole for a little while?
Yes, please do.
So me and my husband have been having these conversations about like karma and stuff. And Bernie Madoff's um documentaries coming up on Netflix. And I swear to God, we're not sponsored by Netflix. I don't know. I understand why we keep talking about their shows, but um, I'm really looking forward to that. But as I grow older, I really feel like there's a plus and minus, and there is somebody up there keeping tabs, and I'm very cognizant of that. So even when I want to do assholey things, I tell myself it's not the right thing to do. Like I really try to do the right thing even when people are not looking.
Okay.
But then I see like people do really shitty stuff, right?
Right.
And then I wonder like, will these people be punished? Will they like, see the time of day, or like, who's like taking account for this? And then I see
Right.
people like Bernie Madoff, and I was just like kind of Googling him and researching him. And like, did you know, like after making all that money, right? He's in jail.
Yeah.
His two kids he probably saved all that shit for are dead. And
Yeah.
his family's just gone to shit.
Yeah, I actually followed the Bernie Madoff thing very closely about 3 or 4 years ago. And at that time, like I think the suicide of his son and the death of the other one had already happened. And I was like, wow, like
Yeah.
that's I don't know. Like I mean, I'm with you in the sense that I believe in like karma. I believe that things go full circle, but like what a tragic, tragic, tragic life. Like what a high, 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 and then a complete utter like low. And
Yeah.
like what was the purpose? And I what I ask myself when I do go through things is what is the learning in that? Like what am I supposed to learn from that? Or when I see it happen to somebody else, I say like what was the learning in that? And sometimes I can answer and sometimes I can't. And I
Yeah.
don't know.
And then, in
So what
my,
do you think about the Lisa thing with the circle or the Alexa thing with the
I don't know, she still seems very judgmental. And I know Alexia has been through a lot of difficult challenges, like in um the last few years. But I hope and I think that when somebody has been through so much challenge, there is some reflection and there's some like you become humbled a little bit, right? But I didn't necessarily see that in her. And then
uh surprise, you're watching Housewives.
I know, but there has to be some kind of reflection sometimes, I feel. And then
No, that's complete bullshit. Like, I'm sorry. Like, one thing that I thought, like, do you remember Teresa after her whole jail thing and everything? And her first season back, she's basically running around talking about Jack. Is it Jackie?
yeah, Jackie.
Yeah, Jackie's husband cheating, and she didn't even do it like she said she makes it sound when she tells the story like she just haphazardly like it was a slip of the tongue. No, man, she went to that fucking party and was walking around and wanted to talk shit about her. Like she did that willfully and maliciously and with complete intent. And for somebody who went through what she went through, you would have thought it would have changed her as a person. I actually think she's come back more shittier of a person. Prior to that, I just felt like she was a very reactive, very emotionally reactive person. Since she came back, I just think she's a complete jackass. Like, I don't know. I'm not surprised. And if that's how Alexia is as well, I'm not surprised. I
Yeah,
think that
and
speaks to
with
their character.
like with Teresa, dude, I feel like her downfall is coming. Like all of her nonsense cannot go unpunished. I like from what I've heard, like through the blogs or what I've seen, like all of that behavior, I don't think will go unpunished at all.
You say that, but I'm sorry. I feel like she's at the top of her top. Like she's got such a big fan base and so much support. The only thing I can tell you that I struggle with or that I feel like is the dichotomy of like sort of um how I feel about her is like genuinely like I how do I say this? This sounds bad because it sounds like, oh, if you have crappy kids, then you're a bad person. That's not what I'm trying to say. But her kids, like the way the four of them support each other, the way they back her, the way they like are just good to each other tells me there's some part of her that's very, very good. But I've missed it and I don't see it on TV. That's all I can say.
I also totally feel like Teresa would tell her kids to pretend to be like that, even if they were not like that for TV.
No, you can't pretend to that level, dude.
Yes, you can. And I
Really?
think her oldest daughter is totally like auditioning to be like a legacy housewife and wants to be on the show as well. And I think that's why she's
Oh,
so involved.
oh, 100. I believe that. But there is something about how they band together. It kind of reminds me of how, like, me and my family always bond together, like, do or die. Like, we always have each other's back. And I think there's some goodness, like, only goodness can sort of teach that, right? Like, to be loyal to your family and to support your family. I mean, I do agree there's some part of TV in that, but isn't it crazy that there's like a generation of people who are like growing up to just want to be housewives? Like, bro,
Yeah.
like I don't even think that's a legitimate career, is it? Like if you haphazardly fall into that, that's different. But to grow up wanting that to be your career, like blows my mind.
Dude, started watching this show. I think it was on Hulu or Netflix where people are 3 and 4 years old and they say, I want to be a cheerleader for the Dallas Cowboys. There's a reality show
Stop it.
around it. So
Stop it.
how crazy can that be?
Yeah, that's stupid. Because, just earlier this week, you and I had a conversation about how you want to put your daughter in something athletic, and you're like, I'm going to put her in cheerleading. I was like, you are not going to. I find that like the most backward, like sexist sport where like guys are being like paid millions of dollars for their skill in doing sports, and then the women are standing beside them in half the clothing, just dancing and cheering them on. Like, I just don't even get it.
A whole state thinks otherwise.
Well, that's complete, utter bullshit. Welcome to 2023.
On the note of the whole karma thing, I've ran
Yeah,
into a few not so nice people, but they are
yeah,
all very like big Ayyappan
doing well.
followers.
Oh,
Does that
that's terrible to say.
does that wash out your sins if you do Ayyappan?
Well, I mean, the way karma works, I'd like to think, or the way I understand it, is there is a way to sort of like, how you describe it as like a plus and minus system. I do think there is a way of absolving yourself. Isn't that the same idea like in Catholicism and stuff where you like confess your sins and you make like, what's the word? Clearly, I'm not up to date on my like
I know what you're saying, but does that change things?
um being religious. Does it change things? In my books, I don't think so. Doing charity and spreading some sort of love or some sort of goodness or some sort of charity, I do think it does garner you some favor. I genuinely do believe that.
Thank you everyone so much for joining the conversation, and we'll see you next week.
Bye everyone. Have a great week.